What's up guys, Xuses here. Got something a little different this time. This is going to be more of a discussion video with some of my ranked matches playing in the background. Feel free to critique those by the way, as I still have a lot to learn and would love to hear some feedback. So, I want to talk about the launch of Street Fighter V in regards to all the issues that seem to be plaguing the online experience and whether Capcom deserves all the hate they are currently receiving from the lack of single player content. Let's start with something which I believe played a fundamental role in the exclusion of so much single player content, the release date. I think everyone has forgotten that Street Fighter V was announced not that long ago. December 6 to be precise. That was only 14 months ago. For a game such as Street Fighter, with the reputation and caliber it holds, you would never expect such a short development time. This kind of time frame from announcement to release is almost unheard of, and let's not forget, there were no delays. I know some of you might be thinking that this game was in development way before they announced it. Well, that's not entirely true. If you look back at the footage shown in the announcement trailer, it wasn't looking like a game that had been secretly in development for over a year. In June 2014, Ono said Street Fighter V was not in development. There were also some speculation not that long ago that Capcom didn't have the funds to make Street Fighter V, as Ono also went on to say that it would require a large staff and large budget. This is where Sony stepped in and obviously helped to fund this game. Now that we got some backstory out the way, let me go on with my point. For a game to be announced and released so quickly, some shortcuts have to be made. In this case, it was obviously the single player content which they either cut from the final game or decided to push back in the development timeline. By the way, be happy that they're not charging you for this content, because a lot of scumbag companies deliberately cut content from the final game and try to sell it to you as post-launch DLC. So the challenges mode, in-game store, cinematic single player story and arcade mode / versus mode versus the CPU had to be cut out in order to get the game out as soon as possible. But you have to ask yourself, is that really such a big deal? I mean, let's be real now, are you logging in every day to complete arcade mode, or are you playing online with your friends? Very few people will ever buy a Street Fighter game for the single player mode, so I don't quite understand all the negativity towards the slideshow cutscenes in the current story mode. Fair enough, you don't have a genuine arcade mode, but the training mode with its in-depth customizable options makes up for it. And if you want that arcade feeling so badly, just switch all the training mode options to normal and you'll have the exact same round-based gameplay. If we had the option to choose between a February 2016 or a December 2016 release date, with the latter having a fully functional single player campaign, I'm pretty sure most people would have voted for the February release as long as it had a polished and complete multiplayer experience. Unfortunately, this is where Capcom fucked up. A lot of people are complaining about not being able to log in, being disconnected and not being able to find players. I've also read a ton of comments about how Capcom had 4 betas to fix this problem and still managed to mess it up. Whilst this is all true, it's also a little harsh. The Street Fighter V servers are currently being shoryukened from all sides as people all over the world are bombarding them with login attempts. Capcom should have definitely planned better, but I'm more than certain all the server-side online issues should be fixed within a couple days. A week max. I know everyone is eager to log in and grind out those online matches, but people need to realize that these types of day one problems happen all the time. Rarely does a massive online orientated game ever have perfectly smooth launches. In fact, most of the online games I've ever played all had miserable launches, including the MMORPG Arcade, where people had to wait in online queues ranging anywhere from 1 to 2 days. When you're able to log in and find a match, it works great, at least for me anyway. If you're having connection issues, you should switch the connection status from any to 4 to 5, because I'm yet to find a laggy or unstable connection. Soon, all of the online problems will be sorted and we'll be receiving all the single player content that was missing for free. So I don't really see a big reason to complain, because not that long from now, we'll have everything a standard fighting game has to offer, plus more as Capcom continuously provide content over the coming years. There's one more thing I want to touch on before I close out this video, and that's the negative impact Mortal Kombat X has had on the industry. They made such an epic single player cinematic story that they essentially pressured everyone else into upping their game. I would bet money on the fact Capcom is finally making a cinematic single player story just to try and outdo MKX. The reason I say this is bad is because it just adds to the development time and wastes useful resources. The money spent in making your once or twice playthrough as nice as possible could have been spent on extra characters, more stages, more battle mechanics, and probably a more balanced and polished multiplayer experience. Instead, we get a game which comes out later for a mode which you'll only play a couple of times. This type of development model suits games such as Uncharted and Metal Gear, not multiplayer focused fighting games. I guess you could also argue that MKX has set the benchmark and all companies should meet those standards in order to up the quality of fighting games as a whole and provide the consumer with the best possible experience. That makes sense, and I would agree with that if once again, it didn't cause multiplayer focused games to come out much later. Anyway guys, that's my take on this whole situation. I look forward to reading your comments. If you agree with some of the points I made, then don't forget to like my shit, and I'll see you in my next video.